Picture this. One of America's most famous faces, Ellen DeGeneres, wakes up, checks the news, and by nightfall, she's leaving the United States for good. Now, imagine her starting over, not in Hollywood, but in the peaceful English countryside, because the stakes in her home country feel just too high. Why? Politics, rights, and a very personal fear for her own marriage. You heard it right. Ellen, the comedy legend, television pioneer, and LGBTQ+ icon, quietly said goodbye to everything she'd built in the US and found solace somewhere totally unexpected. What made her pack her bags overnight? What's the real story nobody's telling? And, in a twist nobody saw coming, could she be planning a second wedding for the most unexpected reason? Before we jump in, make sure you watch until the end, because this story has twists, heartbreaking confessions, big celebrity reveals, and a lesson for everyone about what truly matters most. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Ellen made the right move? Would you have done the same? Now, let's get into the details. First, a little context. Ellen DeGeneres is a global superstar. From humble beginnings in stand-up comedy to becoming the queen of daytime television, she's inspired millions with her humor, activism, and that famous mantra, "Be kind." After coming out on national television, Ellen broke barriers and won over hearts worldwide. But underneath that easy laugh, success came with a cost, especially when the world started changing around her. Let's flash back to 2024. Many Americans were glued to their TVs as the presidential election drew near. The atmosphere? Tense. For Ellen and her wife, Portia de Rossi, it was nerve-wracking. But unlike most of us, who just scrolled nervously through social media, Ellen and Portia made a radical choice. They landed in the UK just a day before the votes were counted. The next morning, their phones lit up, not with congratulations, but with messages full of crying emojis from friends reacting to Trump's win. At that moment, Ellen says, she and Portia knew they weren't going back. For the first time, the country that had given them so much was now a place where, in Ellen's own words, she felt she couldn't be certain about her safety or her right to love freely. That fear wasn't imagined. In the months before they left, Ellen watched as American politicians and activists made moves to roll back LGBTQ+ rights, especially same-sex marriage. Politicians threatened a Supreme Court reversal. The Southern Baptist Convention voted to test the country's landmark marriage equality law, and bills across multiple states questioned whether Ellen and Portia's marriage would stay legal much longer. Let's pause for a second. Imagine what that feels like. Every major decision you made, the love you built over decades, and your sense of security, suddenly put at risk by a courtroom or a lawmaker. Ellen said the uncertainty made them question everything. That's why, in a moment most people might never experience, they chose to leave. A leap into the unknown for something money and fame can never buy: peace of mind. So what happens when an American icon swaps the Hollywood Hills for the Cotswolds? Some hilarious, some heartwarming, and some downright surprising things. Ellen talks about how English villages feel almost like stepping into a painting: ancient stone homes, winding lanes, fresh air, and friendly hellos from strangers who don't care about her celebrity status. The pace is slower, life feels healthier, and Ellen even got to see her first real snowfall. And yes, Portia's beloved horses made the journey too, finding new pastures far from paparazzi lenses. They didn't stop with horses. Think chickens, a flock of sheep, and plenty of garden projects. Ellen jokes about never having time to get bored, trying to learn British manners, and failing hilariously at tea time customs, and making friends in the tight-knit local pub scene. It's a massive shift from Hollywood parties and television studios. For someone who spent decades entertaining millions, she says, living in the countryside is both humbling and totally freeing. But let's not forget what's really at stake. For Ellen and Portia, the move wasn't just about scenery or privacy. It's about protecting their love. The real bombshell? Ellen says they're now considering remarrying in the UK, just in case same-sex marriage is revoked in the United States. Think about the symbolism. After all those iconic television moments, after being one of the first openly gay women on mainstream American television, She's now worried her own country could annul her marriage. That's how real the threat feels. Ellen's story doesn't shy away from the tough stuff. She reflects on her talk show ending amid allegations and controversy, painfully aware of how public opinion swung so fast. She admits she has a strong personality, direct, maybe not always smiling and soft, but says the bad press missed the complex reality of running a massive show. She misses many aspects of it, especially the true connections she made, but knew it was time to move on. In the UK, Ellen is opening up in new ways. In stand-up shows across England, she shares her journey, both the laughter, like figuring out how to pronounce Worcestershire, and the fears, especially about LGBTQ+ rights in both the US and the UK. She's honest that, even in entertainment, most actors still feel scared to come out. Ellen says if things had truly changed as much as headlines claimed, Hollywood would be bursting with open LGBTQ+ stars at the highest level, but it's not. Even now, coming out isn't easy, and many fear what it means for their careers and safety. There's also a broader message for everyone watching. Ellen emphasizes that love is something governments shouldn't control. She names the risk if lawmakers start turning back the clock. Not just for her and Portia, but for millions whose lives could be uprooted in a single vote. She calls for young people and allies to keep fighting, to reject fear and demand fairness, because each generation moves the needle a little further toward true equality. So, what now for Ellen and Portia? Don't expect a Netflix reality show or a TikTok house filled with farm animals, at least not yet. Instead, imagine quiet walks, local friends, new creative projects, and, if fate allows, a second wedding filled with British charm. Ellen's journey is a reminder that fame doesn't shield you from injustice. Sometimes, it just gives you the platform to speak louder. Let's finish with the big takeaway. Ellen traded in her old life because of real, personal fears about safety and equality. Things some take for granted, but many never can. Her leap reminds us all that rights can't be assumed permanent, that celebrities are real people with vulnerable moments, and that love, in the end, truly is worth crossing oceans for. If you found this story moving, drop a heart in the comments, share your thoughts on Ellen's decision, and join our incredible community by subscribing. Let's support each other, talk openly about what matters most, and keep these powerful stories in the light. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, we'll see you next time with more untold celebrity stories that reveal the truth behind the headlines.